Yes, sir. I am here in the forest, working on my mobile workshop, having a ripping good time. Yes, ripping 2x4s. I had a whole stack of them, and there was a lot of ripping to do. I appreciate you guys coming along and enduring all this work with me. And all the details, which really is part of the process. The last process that I was working on was framing out the bench top. Now I was putting up what would eventually support some shelves. Everything had to be done in such and such an order so that I didn't accidentally build myself into a corner later on. Metaphorically speaking, that is. For days and days I've been keeping the process going, oftentimes until nightfall. Well, it's a new day. I'm here at the workshop. It was a long commute from home. Body's a little bit sore from doing a lot of cutting and carving and whatnot. Here's a rather unique looking scrap pile. Kind of strange looking. But that's going to turn it to something nice. Something else that's going to turn it to something nice are this brace of plywood right here. That's going to turn into a workbench. I just came back from the lumberyard. Couldn't help myself. I realized before I build up the walls and put up those fancy looking gussets that made all that scrap, I got to build a workbench. Yep, threaten me with a good time, will you? Okay, I got the lumber out of the way. There's still some dogs in the way. That's okay. Jabs, really? That's where you lay? Right next to the brace, huh? Yeah. So, I still have the brace in place, you notice that. That's making sure that everything stays nice and square. Once the plywood gets put in here, there's going to be two sheets. One sheet goes here. This one here is going to be cut so that it comes to this mark right there. That'll let it overhang 2 inches. It'll be nice so that I can clamp stuff if I have to. And once that's in place, I'll rip the other piece and we'll put these sections on. I bought 2-inch screws that hopefully will go through this 1.5 inch frame and into the plywood without penetrating the plywood. That's the plan. Hopefully that works. And that'll give a nice clean look. It'll make it so that I can take the tabletop off in the future if I have to for whatever reason. I haven't had a workbench of my own since my place in Gibsonton, which I left in 2016. It's been 8 years. 8 years without my own workbench. And finally, I'm this close to having it. I mean, it's not done yet, obviously. I gotta build legs and figure out what's going underneath and build frames around them, such as the refrigerator, but just to have like a worktop to do stuff. Whew. Man, it's been a long time coming. Let's go, puppies. Y'all need to go inside. Daddy's got to make some sawdust. I wonder why my back hurts. And before I drop that into place, there's one thing that I still have to do. That is going to require those and these. These screws that are holding this, what I call a ledger board, to the wall. They go through the wall and they penetrate just a little tiny bit, but I would like to have something that is a little more secure and robust in case there's ever some heavy loads on this. I don't think these screws would ever fail, but I also would like to have something on the outside that looks better than the screw protruding. So I'm going to drill a bigger hole for a bolt. This is a Torx bolt, something very similar you would see on a truck. On the inside, I'm going to use this insert that will go into the wood, and then from the outside I'll be able to use a bolt which is going to be a lot more secure than these screws. Sorry, I only had to do that like 30,000 times. Okay, now we take one of these bolts, we go on the outside and see if we can't make things secure. If there's any kind of bow to the ledger board, this should eliminate that and pull everything nice and tight. So we shall see if that's the case. Oh, feels like I hit it. I know I have a bit for this. Let's go see how deep that penetrated. If this works good, which I have a lot of confidence in, then I'll put a little dab of silicone on there and it'll make it waterproof. Yeah, there's the head of the bolt right there. So now as I tighten that down any further, it's really going to make that super, super tight. This becomes part of the truck. You know how screws are sometimes, you know, the wood might still wobble a little bit, especially when you have a big lever, like a workbench, tugging on it. Okay, so I have to do one there, and along the other side. I'll just give you a quick montage of me doing that. You lucky devils, not having to worry about that stuff. Right tool for the right job. Well, that is not all of them, but it's enough for me to put the first piece of plywood down, because everything that'll be covered will be taken care of. And I just wanted to say that maybe a drill was not the right tool, because you look at those things sideways and they will strip out. so I had to be real careful and get them started by hand and then finish them with this. Otherwise the little insert would start to spin, and boy, they were a devil to get out. But there they are, a whole bunch of them. That one might get tightened down a little bit more, but the rest of them are seated pretty well. And yeah, so we're ready for piece of plywood number 1. I'm excited. All right, that's pretty darn close. I think I gotta take that corner down a little bit to get it to where my mark is. Yeah. Yeah, definitely gotta take those corners down. That one at least. And that's something. It's a possibility that this truck is not square. So this one ought to be close. No, it's not. Okay, well, there it is. Time to tweak it. Alright. It looks like I chewed this piece off with my teeth, but it doesn't matter because it's going to get covered by the wall pieces. And really that's the reason that I wanted to put this down first, and why I went ahead and bought it, so that I can get the walls done and this ugliness would be covered eventually. So check it out. Got my little overhang, and yeah, awesome. All right, I'm gonna move some stuff, and then I'm gonna cut these pieces, finish putting those in. There's only a few more left per side, and yeah, I'll come back when I have these pieces cut and in place, and then we'll start to secure them. Man, I'm liking it. I'm liking it. Take a look at the workbench with nothing on it, because this day will probably never come again. There's always going to be stuff on there. I am going to try though. I'm going to make a concerted effort to not put shit here. That would be nice. Maybe someday. All right. Left and right workbenches empty. These wall studs have to come down. I only put one screw in there. I put them up kind of temporary. That's when I kind of realized I should put the workbench down first before this goes up. So that has to come down, and it should be an 8-foot piece. So one rip, that should be all we need. And then we can put the other 2 pieces of plywood down. Tape measure. Why am I losing my stuff? Okay, we got this plus 2 inches. Would be 33. This 15 plus 2 is 17. 33 and 17. No, that doesn't work. We have a 1-inch overhang here. Ha! I think that's it. Maybe. I'm still going to get away with ripping the plywood once, but it's not going to hang over as much as I would have liked. And the reason is I took a 2x4 and I cut it in half, if you remember. And the regular side, 1.5 inches, that remains, but the tops are bigger than 1.5 inches by about 1/4 inch. So you have a 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch. That's a full inch difference. So I lost an inch. So I wanted 2 inches here, 2 inches there. And somehow I'm gonna get 1 inch here and 1 inch there. Because here we got 31, so 1 inch of overhang would be 32. Here we have 15 1/4, so that would be 16 1/4 plus 32. That's 48 1/4. Plus the kerf of the blade as I rip it, so you're going to lose another 1/8 there. So I'm losing 3/8. So it's going to be less than an inch of overhang. I don't know how that happened. I don't know. Very upset with myself, very. Now, one thing that I can do is I could cheat the board out because I have enough and don't put it up against the wall. And it's going to get covered eventually. Thinking about putting a backer along this. I've done that a lot and it makes a nice, beautiful seam where the wall ends, and it gives you a little ledge for knickknacks and whatnot, and makes cleanup real easy. So what I may do is just rip it down as close as I can get it and pull it off the wall. Yep. I'll still be able to put a board on top of it and the weight will transfer down. Not that I really care about that. Wow, you've seen me. You've been with me during the process, and I try to be pretty meticulous. And still, life gets in the way, I guess. All right, where was I? I was measuring. Bang, party. Come on, DeWalt. Well, there it is. I'm not thoroughly disappointed, but you know how it is. I mean, you have this idea of how something's going to work out, and all the little imperfections, you know, the gap here, the difference in the overhang. Good God. You know, the truck not being square. There's a bunch of little things. So now I have to try to tweak it as best as I can. I may pull it out to about there. And it's barely supported in the back. It still is. It's still supported back there. So that's kind of cool. You know, now I have an even gap underneath. See? The question is whether or not these studs that I made are going to work. There's an example of one. And if you put that on the wall, it kind of covers it. Especially if I had a ledger board, or whatever you call it, going across the back. Yeah, and because here on this wall I'm going to get insulation eventually, probably pegboard, which means I have to trim this out a little bit to put the pegboard on it. So I could easily lose this gap. You know, the only thing is, until then, I've got to stare at that and have a constant reminder as to how I screwed up. Well, until I decide how to do that, I'm going to leave you guys. But look, we are making progress. We are getting one step closer to getting our gussets up, supporting the ceiling, and then we'll be able to harness the power of that light that's pouring through up there. Of course, then I'll have to figure out lighting because it'll be dark in here and I'll be bitching about that. See you guys next time.